OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. Got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel.
Welcome to day one of the PMCO 2021 Spring Split North America Finals with myself, Imperium, and the one and only Zute. This is where it all begins. The 16 teams who've made it through from the invited slots all from the group stage, are going to battle it out over the next 4 days, over the next 16 games to secure their spot in the PMPL. Zute, are you ready?
Oh, I am so ready. We finished that group stage for here with such a crazy fashion. Every day was action packed. Every day literally had its own insane storyline, and I'm imagining for the finals it's going to be even better.
It is indeed. So, of course, you have the 14 teams that made it through. It is in order in the terms of PassionFruit, that finished it first in the group stage, right down to LeveLx, who made it through in the very last game. And then with the two invited teams helping quit addiction and Pro Era, it's going to make for a very exciting mix of games and lobbies. And, you know, we will, of course, be talking about things and breaking stuff down, should I say. But let's be fair, this is a pretty stacked lobby.
Oh, this is definitely pretty stacked. As far as PMCO goes, this is going to be the most stacked. We whittle it down to these teams. And speaking about these teams, I know it's early on, but what do you have as your 8 that you're just off the top of your head? Your 8 that's going to qualify. It's the top 8, by the way, guys. Top 8 go into PMPL.
Wait, no. No, first of all, can I just say, loving the stylish haircut, looking snackalicious, my dear Zute.
All right.
Second of all, seeing as I had the cojones to put my list in order, you read yours out first.
Okay, fair enough. You're right. Okay, so my top 8 in no particular order. Okay, no particular order.
Go for it.
I got EFC, PassionFruit, Dior, SegmentX, Mezexis, M19, HQA, and Syndicate.
Interesting. So you don't have Pro Era, but you have HQA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm putting mine in order. Okay.
All right. Let's
first,
hear it.
PassionFruit. Okay. I picked them as my team to win. Why not? You rained on them. You chose somebody else. I feel it. Second place, EFC. Third, Pro Era. Okay.
Oh.
Fourth,
okay.
Team Ace. Fifth,
Ace.
SegmentX. Sixth, Mezexis.
Okay.
Seventh, Punjab United. And eighth, HQA. Those are my top 8. Now,
wow,
we kind of discussed this before broadcast. If there's like 3 or 4 slots available, we probably wouldn't do a list like this. But because it's pretty much every single team has a 50% chance, it kind of makes sense to kind of touch upon it. Now, you might be asking, well, how are they going to get the points to make it into the top 8? Let's have a quick look at the point system and how these teams are going to, of course, rack up the points. First place, 15 points, 12 for second, 10 for third. The golden top 3 is always a pretty decent amount. It whittles down. You get 0 from 13th to 16th as usual with 1 point per kill.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't put in Dior. I just want to throw that out there. That's the one team that, that's all.
I thought about them. Wait, did you have M19 in your list?
Yeah, I did have
M19. Okay. See, I didn't have M19 in my list because I thought I think they might be a little bit too passive for the kills they got in group stage, and I don't know if they'll be able to
one really good day
carry them forward. Yeah. But before we get into the first game, let's really quickly take you through the schedule. Starting in Erangel, going to be going on to Sanhok, then Miramar, and then last but not least, Erangel. It's pretty standard stuff. We've had it through the group stage. We're going to have it in the finals. The teams will be familiar with it.
Yeah. Familiarity is always nice, especially for a competition of this level.
Yeah, it does. It's good because it allows the teams to, and we talked about it during the group stage, it allows the teams to kind of focus on each game a little bit clearer and focus on what they need to do in game, in the battlefield. And let's get into the first game of the day in the hollow grounds of Erangel. This is the very first game of the PMCO North America Finals. And who is going to start it with a bang? We see the plane path. It is going from Stolbar down to the south.
Yes.
That seems like it's quite an
Yes.
easterly plane path.
You are 100% correct, my friend Imperium. This is a
Yes.
very, very eastern plane flap, straight from the top to the bottom, not very skewed whatsoever. So this plane path, I would say this plane path is better than if it was on the west side straight down. Just
Yeah.
based on experience, I've had this plane path quite a lot, and my old team actually used to go loot George Pool as the opposite side of the map on for this plane path. But surprisingly enough, it's not too hard to get to the west side with an eastern plane path. I think it's just with the way
That's
the roads are laid out, and specifically the car spawns. You know, it's pretty stretched out evenly, all up and down. So I don't think we're going to get too much of an issue for any of these teams in terms of making it to their loot spot. I'd actually be quite surprised if we lose any players early on, given that it is the first day, and we all know the first day teams like to feel each other out first, right? They don't just jump right into it with guns blazing.
Yeah, they do like to feed each other out. Phase 1 pops up, Zute, and it is not fun initially for these teams because that is the opposite direction of the plane path.
Yeah, that is dead opposite. I think, though, with the level of this lobby now, because we're in the PMCO Finals, even with such a western circle, given the plane path was hard east, I think the teams can all utilize enough variety of rotation strategies. I'm talking about looping around from the north, looping around from the south, that everybody should be able to make it into this first circle without us seeing too many casualties, given such a opposite shift from the plane path.
For sure. We did have, there were some scrims for these PMCO NA finalist teams that was organized by Monica. Thank you very much to herself and all her organization crew. And we saw some very interesting circles and plane path and even some very interesting games all throughout. I know they're scrims, so it doesn't tell the whole picture of how these games are going to go. We saw teams in scrims play very aggressive, even, to be fair, target a couple of other teams towards the end of the scrims. And you were saying that you think, generally speaking, teams are going to be playing a bit safer, feeding each other out. But what if a team decides to, I wouldn't say capitalize off that, but comes into this game with a fully fledged plan that is...
team here kind of, is coming into today feeling confident and ready to really, make a point.
Yeah, so true, so true. Phase 1 is about to close up, and, as 14 of the teams are coming from the group stage, will any of the especially as a player yourself, will any of the players or the teams have in any way, have brought what happened in the group stage over to the finals? Will that cross their mind at all?
Yeah, definitely. And before I touch on that, let's just look at this circle shift. It goes to the west once again. We're getting a double western hard shift. Now, on the second western hard shift, this might actually cause some problems in terms of rotating. So we might see a team go out rather early, right, with a full-on engagement. But yeah, coming into this from group stage to the finals, I would say the only things teams should really be looking to bring over is in regards to their own team, right? Whatever the other teams did in group stage, I don't think they should worry too much about it. They should just worry more so about, hey, what were our own team mistakes? What were our mistakes that we made ourselves that we should remember and correct coming into the finals? Yeah, I don't think much of the team play in terms of team rotations it's going to change up quite a bit because we're having the same essentially group of teams playing for 4 days in a row, whereas before we
That's
had
true.
constantly alternating groups. So it changes up a lot coming into the finals.
That is very true, as HQA are rotating quite deep into this phase 2 without any real information, and Punjab United are going to try and push them back. There's also Pro Era towards the Gaka region. You saw PassionFruit rotating and stopping towards a couple of those houses. So I would say that although it's worked out for HQA, that was a very risky rotation. Although Brain of Syndicate has been able to get a knockdown onto Louis, and Shi Wong is going to get knocked out by Brain. So maybe I spoke too soon. HQA getting punished off that rotation.
Yeah, they're getting punished heavily, and I think that's one of the things they're just trying to feel out, right? The rotation timings. Maybe they thought, hey, we're going to go hard, we're going to go fast. Not a lot of teams will be as fast as us. That is not the case. We saw them drive by 2 teams, and then they stopped in an area where there was a 3rd team already set up in front of them. And this is not looking good for HQA. They did pick up, a few kill points off the beginning, and I don't think UNZ is going to get this reset. We see Syndicate already wanting to confirm those 2 kill points, and will probably pick up a 3rd here.
They should be pushing this, because even though Syndicate right now have plenty of space while Ason gets knocked down, a lovely grenade from Ason all the same is going to help confirm those kills onto the members of HK. But my point is that even though Syndicate are not heavily near people, at least behind them, taking that team out just gives them a lot more control, a lot more freedom. HQA are down to 2, and Yuanzi is nowhere near across.
Yeah, nowhere near. And Syndicate's positioning here, this is what this position's for. You control the entirety of all the hay fields if you have control of the watchtower, right? So they are taking advantage of their positioning. But Yuanzi, this is the guy that started the game off with the K9 knock, and he just knocked 2 of Syndicate trying to push up on him, and Syndicate's forced to send a 3rd, and Yuanzi still has a grenade. He's essentially about to 1v4 Syndicate if this Syndicate, recovery falls apart.
Now, I know there's an element of not necessarily knowing exactly how many players are there, but I would say that there's just as much risk, side angling those rather than just going full send it in as a 3-man team to get that knock. And Cross comes in from behind to eliminate 2 of the Syndicate players. What looks so good for Syndicate has quite quickly fallen apart. Now Cross is going to go for knock. He gets a juicy knock onto Rad. And what a way to send a message to Syndicate going, hey, you cross our path, you may put us under pressure, you may take us down, but unless you take us out, we're still in the game.
Yeah, UNC the Immortal. I'm going to dub that as his nickname right now. We just saw Brain take some DP shots right at him, and UNC once again surviving that. He is not going down, and he put up enough of a fight that it gave Cross an opportunity to come in for the quick backstep. Now, HQA, they're not out of it yet. We had a northern hard shift, and that actually puts them right in the middle of the circle for all the teams rotating. And look, he is literally the Immortal once again. Not going down. Absolutely insane out of HQA. The resilience of this man alone. What a way to start off the first game, Imperium. This is amazing to see.
Phase 3, on a side note, did shift up north, so Everest is still in play. We didn't get too much of an idea of where teams were inside this Phase 3 or where they were not inside this Phase 3. But right now, M19 are down on the southwest side, and you have LeveLx looking up at them. And, one thing about LeveLx is part of the reason why I didn't put them on my top 8 is because their lack of kills in the group stage. And this kind of lobby is going to be obviously a lot harder to get kills on, just as I say that Revenge knocks down Venom. But my point is, I worry if M19 are going to be able to be aggressive and controlling enough in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, if they press on this situation right here, I want to see them, maybe send 1 or 2 members out on a wider angle to try and pick up those kills. But yeah, kills is super important. And it's not just so much the kills, it's the mentality. If your team
Exactly.
has a kill-oriented mentality, that means they're playing at a confidence level where, you know, they're trusting in their gunplay, they're trusting in their teamwork to secure kills safely, and it just goes a very long way when we're talking about the course of like 16 games, which is what we have in the finals.
The pain of We Support Farmers rides on through into the southwestern edge of the circle, knocks down a player of JCR, and then they also come in and get a knockdown onto one of the LeveLx players, but does get knocked down in return. It's a pretty much it's a cluster down on the southwestern side because they shift up north previously and they're heading into the bog. Luke has nowhere really to go because his vehicle is on fire. He's gonna have to blow that one up and hope he's gonna become Shrek and just stay underneath that bridge and or underneath some kind of area and stay out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. That's what he's trying to do right now. And we have another shift. We've had hard shifts every single phase. It shifted back down to the south. I don't know if you recall, but earlier the circle hard shifted north, and now it hard shifted back down south.
Yes.
And this is just causing so many weird rotations for all of these teams. That's why we see such a rainbow assortment of teams right now. We have, I believe, just 3 teams right here on the very hard edge on the south. M19, JCR, and We Support Farmers, and HQA. They're lucky for them. They were stuck 2 circles previous, but they got gifted another circle, so they'll be able to ride this one out just a little bit longer.
EFC are in Gaka, which is a great place to hold on to. Lots of open fields around them, so they're getting a lot of information on likes of, I think that's Warning 6, and yeah, Punjab United up to north of them, and even Team Ace around them as they try and find a space inside the circle. Great shots by Luke, looking for Lola, and Lola is indeed going to get knocked down. It's actually off the back of that vehicle going a bit too fast, and he tries to get out. Either way, he's going to pay the price of SegmentX are in a little bit of trouble. Still 16 teams, 48 players alive.
We have so many teams just that are down to like a couple handful players, 1 or 2, right? Everybody's just trying to cling on for dear life at this point, given these hardships. When we see hardships like these, we will lose players on teams without a doubt. But at a high level, teams will always manage to scavenge one player, and they're going to just try and survive and hold on for as long as possible, and that seems to be the case right now. M19 making a great rotation. I like that position. They do have a way to fight out of it, given if it hard shifts off them to the east.
Yeah, and even though one of their players got knocked out by LeveLx, I do think they've been relatively quite aggressive and quite gun forward, not afraid to push out of those buildings to get those knocks to try and create a little bit of space. So those risks, I think, overall are somewhat paying off, but they have to be careful because LeveLx are not going to stop firing up those shots. Another knockdown comes onto Ralphino. They should be able to get those rebuys, but their vehicle is going to get blown up, and that's going to put them under more pressure should they have to disengage. LeveLx are being a thorn in their side for now.
Yeah, the full reset should come out safely. We saw all the teams behind M19 pretty much get picked up and wiped out. So they should get a full reset, and just in time too. We're about to get into the next circle shift, and this is I haven't even talked about what the zone is looking like. We have a really interesting zone. We got mostly open ground, but there's a lot of dips and ridges in between this whole entire playing field where we could see teams try and snake it out or just put their head down and hunker down and survive.
Next shift is about to show up. And the northwestern side, if it stays in that direction, no, it doesn't. It's going to shift down south, in favor of LeveLx. But I was going to say, like, at least the northwestern edge, there is a few hay bales in play that you're able to play around. There are the hills that are on the western side of this curve phase that LeveLx can kind of rotate to if they get there first, but it seems like We Support Farmers might have an easier entry point as they're already actually on that hill.
Yeah, We Support Farmers, they have their work cut out for them right now. They got to really defend that spot down. A lot of teams on the eastern side, when the circle gets this late in the game, teams no really longer have a viable, long rotation to, the other side of the map. They're probably going to look to see what's just right in front of them. Well, yeah, Warning 6 has 3 teams to their east side that they're going to have to defend. Speaking of which, EFC is looking to control this area in particular, and I believe they're going to use this area as a jumping off point for the next rotation. They got to finish this fight up quick, though, as the circle is already closing.
I don't know if you noticed, but that's actually last player Syndicate that's being one with the side of EFC. The color is a little bit similar, and I just realized that off the back of that camera panning on through. But Dior are going to look to try and fight their way in on towards the radio tower, but it's not stopping EFC. Looking in front of them to try and pick up a couple of kills. Great shots with the DB28. Nesquick going to blow up that US. That's going to take away some of the rotation potential from ESC, so they're going to be forced to take this fight a little bit more heavily. Clues down to a little bit of health. Great grenades is going to confirm that kill onto you here, and that Flawless is going to get knocked down. Great shots and great control from the side of ESC. That is, to be fair, what they do best, fighting on the edge of the circle.
I really want to highlight this to all the viewers. Notice what EFC just did. They went up on a strong position that's not in the next zone, and Brain! I don't think these 2 EFC players are going to make it in now.
Like, I feel bad, but hey, snakes in the grass, snakes in the hay bales, that's the way it goes sometimes, and I feel sorry for them, but opportunistic play from Syndicate, even though he did end up getting taken out. Brain tried to pull out big brain plays, and it nearly worked out in their favor. Warning 6 now on the northeastern edge of the circle inside a couple of buildings. They even have one actually across the road to try and make sure that the rest of the team are not going to get surprised from players coming in from the blue. Lovely shots from an active with that AKM 6X.
Yeah, AKM 6X, you don't see that very often. And I think Yuanzi the Immortal, I was keeping my eye on him. He just finally got knocked for the first time. If there was a stat for how many bullets this man has taken, he would probably have the highest one out of everyone in the lobby right now. And we get another circle shift. This time, it does go in the flavor of quite a few teams, actually. Almost, you have like 5 teams in the next circle shift, and it is already a really small circle.
We went from 14 teams to 9 in like half a circle, as far as I know, off of the back of the teams waiting as late as possible for that wild rotation. PassionFruit did rotate to this southwestern hill, where they've been somewhat able to at least encroach on the space that is held onto by We Support Farmers. And to be fair, you're dead right. We Support Farmers, we're going to have to be careful of that, but at least this hill is still inside phase 6.
Yeah, We Support Farmers, one of the few teams with 4 alive, if not the only team, if I'm not mistaken. So they held a great defense, managing to keep all 4 alive. They don't get the circle, which is perfectly fine. They could fight their way in now. They have sight lines of the next circle. So I want to see a push out with, somebody covering. And I do want to see them take this ace position here, because it's the one that's most directly in their path.
Team Ace, their team I'm looking out for. I've been very impressed with how they've been playing in the scrims, and although, one of their probably, if not the most dangerous player in their team, Grave is taken out, I know that Nomi, Killer, and Peaceful can do something big, especially as they're on the southern edge of the circle. Up on the hill, they do have a little bit of cover, but it's not going to stop them getting pushed upon, whether it's from behind or on the east. They're going to have to try and get all the information they can.
Yeah, this circle slowly condensing. We see teams getting sandwiched closer and closer together. Mezexis is coming up on the south side of Ace. They're going to have to engage in this fight, and they have to win.
Grenade.
One team's going to go down. And we also have 2 teams on top of the hill fighting each other. So it's just fights all around right now, and everybody's looking for a spot in the circle that they can call home.
Come on, Ace, you gotta push one day. You can't let those shots be free range. You gotta make a little bit of noise. You're lucky those grenades didn't connect. All things considered, and yeah, I know you want to be aware of not getting third-partied, but if you allow a team to push in on you, it's the same thing. Alucard indeed does find that initial knock. There you go, a Molotov to send Mezexis back just a little bit. That's the way you create the space, but it could be too little too late, because one of your players is down, so it's a clean 2v2. Killer and Peaceful, a little bit of low health. Peaceful gets knocked out. Killer able to pull off the first save, but it is 1v2 up in the hill, and it's going to be 1. Alucard is going to come in and drive his way through. Nicely done by Mezexis to stay alive in this game, going to blow up their US, but the blue zone ends up getting the better of them. A little bit of a feels bad, man, as we're down to our final 4 teams.
Oh, Alucard, what a great,
Yeah.
1v1 fight he had. They fought their way in. They were 2-man from the very beginning of the game. And to go out, and I believe in 5th place, that's not bad. Even if he did manage to run it in and not die to the blue zone, we saw PassionFruit peeking over just at that moment. He would have gone down anyways. Great job by Mezexis with a 5th place finish as a 2-man at the start of the game. Now we have a new circle shift. PassionFruit have the high ground. They are in zone at the high ground. They could just watch these teams kill each other off, and they could pick up any free scraps that they want.
They can, but they do have to be careful. They only have 2 players up. Warning 6 are still up as a full squad, by the way, so they're the only team up as a full squad. That 2-2 split is kind of working out, but they're going to send 2 players up on towards the edge of the hill to the point where PassionFruit actually have to look directly down, exposing more of their body. So that's great, in my opinion, rotation work from Warning 6. But just as I say that, Jay comes in to get 1 knock, Spring gets another knock, they get double trouble, Boyle and Brubble, and that's Warning 6 down to 2.
Warning 6 down to 1 now. One of the players on the very bottom somehow did get knocked. And no mercy! How did no one shoot this man? It doesn't matter, though. He took his opportune time. And even if he got knocked, he could get revived. Great peek. Calculated aggression right there. Now we're down to 3 teams.
Oh my lord, you took your chance, you saw the knocks, you saw the third party, and Spring, third party, this one to spring up on towards the hay bale to get a knock, get a kill. LeveLx trying pushing out in the open, and the circle is away from ESC. That's why they're trying to make as much noise, get as many kills as they can. They don't have any kind of entry point in this circle. Spring might have left it too late to pull off a first aid, and even though the circle is in the favor of PassionFruit, like I said, the high ground might somewhat go against them, and that's going to be the end of LeveLx as we're down to our final 2 teams up on top of the hill. That's going to be a knockdown for Coops, but it's going to be countered on, and it is going to be EFC, not EFC, but it is going to be PassionFruit. No, it's
EFC
that get the chicken dinner ahead of PassionFruit.
Did you see? What? So what just happened was Spring was medding in the blue. He only had 3 first aid kits. Coops did that fantabulous zigzag strategy. When you're running in the open, you got to zigzag left and right. That's exactly what Coops did. That let him win that 1v1. And then so that forced PassionFruit to get the trade, meaning Spring got an opportunity to get the trade on that one. And then Spring from inside the blue with his last first aid kit clutched the chicken dinner. And EFC, that is right, Imperium, EFC just won that one out against PassionFruit.
Oh my god. And it's funny because it's also like a little bit ironic, the fact that like we both picked these teams, you know, for our caster picks, right? You picked the EFC, I picked PassionFruit. Hey, you won this round, my friend, but what a great game from ESC. You know, it's what they kind of have learned and developed to do somewhat best. Yeah, they play for the circle, but when they're forced to play on the edge, they play the edge, and they play the edge strong. And to be fair, they lost 2 players unexpectedly, and I'm a little bit interested to see what they might have been able to do even more effectively if they had been up as a full squad. Yeah,
so the way they lost their 2 players was very unlucky, I would say. Just circumstance of the battlefield, right? It happens. But they won that out as a 2-man. Now, the decision-making. Okay, they won the game. I want to highlight 2 key things.
Yes.
First, their push onto the radio tower. It's out of zone, but they realized, hey, if we control this spot, because once teams leave here because they want to go to the next circle, we have a jumping off point. We can see everything inside the circle. So we saw the zone closing. EFC did not panic. They stopped out there. And a quick credit to Dior just as well. They had the same idea.
Okay.
But EFC had the better positioning. Key highlight 1. That's how they got into the zone. Key highlight 2, Spring and Coops. They realize if we just run in at this point, we're going to get shot up. We have no entry in. We have no vehicles. Coops, you go in. I'm just going to med it off. Fingers crossed, right? Coops, an excellent player. He ran in. He took down one of the players from the opposing team. And then it was just PassionFruit, you know, on the hill. Great mechanics. Zigzag left and right. Dodge those DP bullets. Get the quick turnaround. And then Spring, ever so patient, first aiding, saw the opportune time to trade off of Coops, and then they won that chicken dinner. By no means was that an easy win for EFC, but they are such a good veteran team, and that's why I picked them. And that's why I picked them over PassionFruit Imperium.
You had to
There's
just,
my essay.
You just had to poke it, didn't you? You had to poke it, didn't you?
Yeah.
But you're dead right. And I would say that, like, that's why when you mentioned about PassionFruit being on the high ground, I'm always a massive advocate of the fact that when you come into phase like 6, 7, and of course 8, being on the low ground is most of the time more beneficial. Yeah, PassionFruit were on the high ground. They got a lot of information, but like you kind of saw, more of the body was exposed when they stood up, which made it a little bit easier for ESC to come in and get that chicken dinner. But what a way to kick off day one of the PMCO NA Finals, brought to you by OnePlus and OnePlus AT. But there's a hell of a lot more to come. So we're going to go for a break. We'll come back as we'll get into Sanhok as soon as possible. See you guys then.
OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. We got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel. OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. We got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel.
And we are back. Day one of the PMCO North America Finals is underway. We had a hell of a game one. Myself, Imperium, with the one and only Zute in his fresh haircut. Breaking all down, and you summed it up during the break, right? Hardship crazy in that game one.
Oh, so many hardships. It was, I think, out of all the games we've casted so far, those were the most apparent hardships, right?
Yes.
It wasn't just hardship alone, it was the terrain difference in hardship. There was that one shift that went north, and you brought up Mount Everest in play, right? And then a completely hard shift is south of that, where it's like the map was basically divided in two by Mount Everest, and it's like, nope, we're not playing on this side of the map, we're gonna just go to the hard other side of the map. And so the rotations were wild. The game was wild. HQA started that game off with a statement to be made. And I want to take a look at the overall points right now. Like, how well did these teams actually do after a crazy game one?
Yeah, so true. Obviously, EFC with those 9 kills and that glorious chicken dinner at the end, being on 24 points, and they automatically have a 7-point lead over PassionFruit in second. And Warning 6, despite them kind of just unfortunately missing the mark, they still got 6 kills from their position with those 8 placement points. It was a good start for Warning 6.
Yeah, for Warning 6, it definitely was not a bad start. Given their positioning in circles, they definitely could have played it just a little bit better, right? They could have capitalized off their position a little bit better. But, hey, getting 14 points still, it's not bad. At least they didn't like completely flop the defense. We saw them with a great defense, and they kept 4 up. So they pushed it on to the end game. It just, at the very end, I think things fell apart a little bit. We saw 2 players go in beneath the mountaintop, and the 2 players from the back just couldn't support the way that they probably would have liked. 14 points, though, nonetheless.
And, you know, I'd been thinking, at one point they had 2 players on the kind of northern side of the road, right, where EFC kind of were. I wonder why they didn't look to either, why they didn't see them. Maybe they didn't look a little bit harder. I know it's very tricky at that stage of the game, but they got caught out because maybe they didn't get enough info, but it is what it is. Looking on the other end of the spectrum, though, 2 teams that were low-key expecting very strong things from, getting 0 points, SegmentX and Pro Era.
Yeah, I did not really get to see what happened with Pro Era. We did see SegmentX. They were rapping, it's the hard shifts. They were trying to rap on the hard shifts constantly. The problem was it was 2 consecutive opposite hard shifts, meaning when it hard shifted back south, right? We always say if it hard shifts south, the south side is more clear. But the problem with that was that it hard shifted north previous, meaning teams got caught on the south of that. And then when it went back south, we saw so many teams already positioned in that southern hard shift. And I don't think SegmentX was ready for that. So they came in on the side, and they just got picked apart by the multitude of teams already set up there.
I'm super curious what happened to Pro Era, because they were one of the first teams to rotate towards the center of the phase 1 around the Gaka region area. And we didn't see it on camera, of course, but, you know, did they get over pushed by Warning 6, right? Did they get crashed upon and, you know, lost that fight? Something definitely happened, because, you know, when they get into a good position, and they are quite adaptable with some of these circle shifts. I know they were harsh, but again, Warning 6 got a good result, and they were around a similar area. Why not Pro Era? So hopefully we see better from them in Game 2 onwards. And we're going to be going into Sanhok in Game 2, and the smaller map, but we can easily get just as crazy circle shifts.
Yeah, and speaking about heading into Sanhok, really quickly, Pynon with SegmentX and Mezexis. What happened in the scrims? Tell me. Did they fight each other or not?
So at first, they both dropped, and then Mezexis bailed. And then I low-key was like, bark, bark, bark. And then the next day, Mezexis dropped with SegmentX. They took the fight, and they won the fight. So I'm not going to say I was the reason why they won, but a little bit of tough love doesn't hurt. But will we see it in the finals? Because it is a completely different ball game to scrims as we're getting into this Game 2 in Sanhok.
All right, yeah, Game 2 indeed, and we're in, and we're about to see if what we were just talking about with Pynon is going to come to fruition. Are we going to see two teams fight over Pynon, Mezexis and SegmentX? Now, SegmentX, they had a very bad Game 1. That might shake their confidence and, taking a straight up hot drop fight against another team. Or they're going to be like, screw it, we're doing it anyways. This is our game plan. Yes. And by the looks of it, I see SegmentX, but I do not see Mezexis hovering around Pynon. So Mezexis did end up leaving Pynon.
They did, and they're going for split drop around the quarry area. Now, I find this very interesting because not once did they do this in the scrims, and PassionFruit. Well, PassionFruit are they have one player way off kilter. This is weird. I kind of don't know what to make of this for now. Obviously, all it does is it adds another team on kind of the eastern side of this phase 1, in which M19, HQA, and Team Ace are going to have to be careful of.
Yeah, and PassionFruit, you talked about it earlier. He's forced into a 1v1 with Alucard. Alucard could stall this out and wait for his teammate. He does not have to take a straight-up 1v1 here, and that's what I want to see. Yeah, Alucard already backing off a little bit, realizes, hey, I could just wait for my teammate, or I don't even have to take this fight, to be honest. He doesn't know how many of PassionFruit are here, and it's actually just one player, and both people disengage.
He probably doesn't even know who it is, right? Unless he recognizes the skin. I think it was also, on a side note, I think it was more because he heard the pin of the grenade that Sleepless was looking to chuck out. That's when he backed off, and then Sleepless stopped the grenade because he heard the footsteps going away. So, overall, great play by both teams, to be fair. But with this phase 1, it does take away a lot of the Northwest Island. You got to think that overall teams will be relatively happy with that, because they only need to technically think about maybe crossing one side of the water rather than, two sides.
Yeah, so the very center of the circle is actually in Pynon, and that's actually a little bit unusual. The circle is more north of Pynon, because Pynon, even though you might think it's more of a central, position on the map, it's actually a little bit skewed down to the south. The center of the map, I would say, is around Boot Camp. So this very first circle is heavily south-focused, I would say, and from experience as a competitive player, the south circle, especially a little bit to the west side where Pynon is the most rare first circle. We see a lot of circles in the northeast, in the east, and the northwest. But the southwest, you rarely ever see a southwest circle. Now, it is the first one. It might shift back up north, making it more familiar of a playing ground for all these teams. But if it keeps shifting to the south, we're in for a treat, because we're about to see something that doesn't usually ever happen.
True. In PMCO Africa today, on their Sanhok game, they had a bridge finish. Literally, phase 9 was on the bridge dividing the Northwest Island and the mainland. it ended on the bridge. It was crazy. I'm hoping we don't have anything extreme as that in this game. Sanhok, though, anything can happen, right?
I am hoping for some extreme things every game, Imperium. You should know this by now. The harder it is for these teams to play, the more I enjoy it. I'm sorry, that's just, hey, as
Sadistic,
a player,
sadistic human.
As a player myself, now that I'm casting and I don't have to deal with it, of course I love watching it, and I heavily encourage and pray for those hard shift circles, those obscene circle shifts. It makes me really happy, and that's just the truth of it.
Like I said at the start of PMCO, welcome to being a caster, because it's a sadistic kind of pleasure, and you know you definitely enjoy it. But 20 seconds until the phase 1 starts, closing in. Punjab United looking pretty solid in their current position. Pro Air rotating, using even a couple of vehicles to get to their point of interest a bit quicker, which I respect, because I do think vehicles are a little bit undervalued in Sanhok. They're not always advisable, but if you use them in the right way, they can be very valuable.
Yeah, so vehicles, the best way to use them on Sanhok is like about 100 meter, 50 to 100 meter quick rotations.
At a time, right?
Yeah, at a time. You always want to get that 2-2. Two people covering the next little hill, the next little ridge. Two people push up close with the vehicle, and you just leapfrog your way through the map in that fashion. And then when you get that hard shift, right, when there's dead open area, when there's a road you have to cross, that's when you take the buggy and just, you know, kind of full send it across the road to the next position over. And there's a lower chance of you getting knocked out because you're just simply faster. What you don't want to do is just drive around the whole map, you know, trying to drive straight to center circle, because that's when things go bad.
Exactly. A little bit like kind of an issue so with HQA in game 1, to be fair. I know they ended up surviving it, but yeah, going for that kind of center circle rotation, especially in Sanhok, without that information on a vehicle it's wild. It's absolutely wild. JCR did get their hands on a crate drop, so it will give them that level 3 gear. Punjab United gonna get caught up by SegmentX. Prophecy picks up the first knock.
Yeah, and I don't think Oscar is going to be able to get revive here. I think this push by Punjab is a little bit greedy. They are central circle, and they should know when team lands in Painan, right? What's the thing in Painan most likely going to do? They're going to take the hill that's dead center.
Exactly.
And so they were pushing up a little bit too greedy, and in my opinion, they should just assume there's going to be a team here, and they will lose Oscar because of that. And the big problem with this is that another team's going to come behind Punjab if they don't go back and secure their flank. And that is what they're going to do. So that's good to see. They're going to secure their flank and make sure they don't get flanked, and they're not just going to stay here and get stuck.
Yeah, it's you know what, say assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but it was definitely a little bit lackadaisical from Punjab, you know, because they could easily have used a couple of those rocks to, you know, get not directly more information, but just stay a little bit safer, wait for, let's say, Prophecy to peak so they could get that information. But you could see Oscar was just like default running, and he was in the open, and it was a free knock and a free kill for SegmentX. It is what it is. You noted Punjab's kind of disengagement, which you can definitely respect. Pro Era are close by, and they probably will have heard those shots, so that will put them on a little bit more alert.
Yeah, and we also have JCR in the far distance. I do think they're able to hear those gunshots too. So center circle, you know, teams already have a pretty good idea. There's a lot of people around here. Our rotations are going to be a little more limited than we might expect. So everyone should be on their toes, and we've said it once, we've said it twice, we've said it 3 times. At this point, your entry strategy for any position should be fighting. You should be ready for a fight. You should be ready for an engagement. And you should also be ready, if you get stuck, to fight your way back out as your exit strategy. And we're going into circle shift number 2. EFC doing a rotation. Yeah, they were looting Hot 10, and we see them on the southwest in the water. So yeah, this is a very southern circle, and it does go back south. This is shaping up to be a very interesting Sanhok ending, one that, you know, spectators will not usually get to see. And because of that reason, EFC taking that botation, and I think it's going to work out in the long run for them. I love that. Beautifully done by them.
I'm going to make a super bold prediction, which I never normally do. I believe the circle is going to end up around where JCR are. It's a super bold prediction, but on the rare chance that we've had these kind of circles, especially in competitive, they've ended it around that area. So I could be wrong, but that's where I think. EFC with that botation, wow. Do you think the timing was that was a little bit too late, or do you think that was actually pretty well timed from them?
I think given how slow it actually is to rotate in a boat, I think they actually left as early as like possible almost.
Fair.
Because they started in the far north, and look, Coop's with only one first aid kit, and they're looting Hot 10, which has a good amount of loot. That means they left rather quickly. So it was a very fast rotation. I don't know if they ran out of gas or if they're being cautious here, because if the boat does get shot at, it gets blown up quick.
To be honest. Yeah, I like
so
to
they're
think they're being
swimming
cautious.
their way in.
Especially because they recognize that with that circle not shifting super heavily up north, there's a much higher chance that teams are not going to be afraid of taking that coastline. So hearing that boat, will make them an instant target, while Syndicate play up towards the hills. I think on the just opposite around the cave area, and PassionFruit are going to be one of those warehouses that honestly really doesn't provide as much cover as players think, but we'll have to wait and see if they can make something work with it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, these two teams are on the southeastern side of the circle, a little bit more so on the edge, so to say. And we see PassionFruit, they have 2 bikes. This means their whole entire team is able to mobilize very quickly. That rotation, though, is looking like a Hail Mary-ish rotation. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But they're making it work. It is PassionFruit, remember? One of the like sneakiest teams in the PMCO Finals. We've seen them just somehow end up in the top 3 and the top 4 just out of nowhere with like barely any kills, not having to fight their way in. And hey, their magic is working on Sanhok too. I would say that's risky, but easy rotation for them. They know something I don't.
Yeah, and a little bit of an interesting stat. Out of the 12 games every team played, PassionFruit were the highest team to score 10 points or more. And they got 10 points or more in 8 of their 12 games. So the consistency of those performances, you noted, where they were just, they were just kind of constantly in the top 4, top 5, was really something to be commended. We all know the impact of a pop-off game, but if you're able to have the consistent results, it makes the actual impact of a pop-off game way more beneficial. So aiming to have those 3-4 results a day, or 2 or 3 results a day that are within like 10, 12 points is really going to set you up, especially as, to be fair, the top 8 do qualify, so there's technically a little bit more room for forgiveness, but you don't want to leave it till the last game, or until you're in 8th or 9th to really put up a strong result.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Consistency is key. We always talk about it, but because it's so key, it's also one of the hardest things to accomplish as a team, right? Consistency.
Fair.
And speaking about hard accomplishments, this circle shift, it's going back up to the north a little bit towards the east. Now this circle, decently familiar, I would say, for all of these teams. The way it's shifted around, though, might throw things in for a little bit of a loop. And also, EFC on the far south, I don't think any team is going to be expecting another team behind them, especially if they are on that far south side. So that could change things. But what's not changing is this engagement. And Seagut already going down to a grenade. Pro Era not having a great start to game number 2 either. But they might be able to salvage this, just maybe.
That split is a little bit weird to either side of the buildings, where they're not really able to support each other, right? It's more like they're 2 separate two-man teams. Siga is going to get confirmed. Nice grenades being thrown out by the Panther. It's just a solid way of securing those kills without overextending, without standing up and over peaking. It does put them in a little bit of an advantageous position with manpower, but it does seem like they are respecting the fact that they've gotten this first kill and they don't want to over push it. I really like that from the Panthers. Calculated moves.
Yeah, pushing a team on Sanhok, even if you have the advantage, is very risky, just due to the grass being its own hard cover almost if you're laying prone.
Yeah.
And the circle did shift, right? So they're prioritizing their rotation, put the pressure out on one team. That one team, Pro Era, is going to be a little bit slower coming in onto their backside because they're just as worried about the Panthers, gatekeeping them or snaking and holding that position too. And look, Pro Era is actually going to rotate the complete opposite way. So the Panthers, their backside is pretty much clear now of one team, just off of that kill alone.
I'll always be the first to say, don't be afraid to go for a push. Don't be afraid to go for an aggressive play. But it was quite clear that they were coming into that with not so much information. So well played for them. LeveLx are also going to be like PassionFruit and using those vehicles this time, I believe, on the far western side of this blue zone while it is closing in on phase 3 and we get into phase 4. It's going to do more damage, and that's where it can be quite dangerous for teams if they do choose to play on the edge of the circle.
Yeah, so you see they're stopping short, like halfway down the mountaintop. They're sending some people on foot. Maybe there's enemies, that way they're able to shoot. So they're utilizing this kind of hopscotch rotation with the vehicles. And they are going to come on to Pro Era. And we have a southern hard shift. Now, this area of the map, very different. Teams are not used to fighting into this position. And the way I see the circle right now, we're going to lose a lot of teams and a lot of players on this hard shift.
It's a bit more east than I expected, but I will say there's a couple of path lines and a couple of bridges for the teams that are either on the mainland or just kind of do have to cross into the circle, while Legal of the Panthers, who did get a kill onto the players of Pro Era earlier on, are now going to take the fight against LeveLx. LeveLx going in blind. They have one player knocked down, but M19 are third-partying that by getting a knockdown on the Savage. That's why Legal chucked out a couple of smokes, giving them more room to play around those rocks and the trees as a grenade is going to fire up. It goes a little bit too far, and the Panthers are down to 3 players.
Yeah, and LeveLx getting... Oh, I was about to say getting lucky with that third party, but they're getting third party themselves. The team on top of the hill, JCR, is going to look to farm these kills, and LeveLx, they are not in zone. The only thing they could do is just fight JCR and run up straight into them, but it's not going to really work out because JCR has such a high ground advantage here.
That's why I said playing on the edge of the circle coming into phase 4 is just so much more dangerous, especially when you're going into an area that you have absolutely no idea where the other teams are. And LeveLx were asking for trouble, and they indeed got trouble. Luckily for the Panthers, JCR there, the third party. LeveLx, a lovely knockdown by Luck with that Thompson. Such a meta gun inside the PUBG Mobile spectrum currently because of the extended clip having 50 bullets per clip, and you're allowed to put a red dot, so it just makes it such a strong, resilient effort. And now as LeveLx looks to push away, Luck gets another knock on the Fox, and the Panthers are suddenly down to 1 inside the blue on the edge of the wall. Great play by JCR.
Yeah, and I think the Panthers were able to give the meds to all one player. That's something I want to maybe see LeveLx do.
Okay.
And that state of panic and confusion. But one player just drove off with the buggy, and he only had 3 first aid kits. I just go for the med kit, right? I know you're exposed, you're in the open, but it's the last thing you could do with a circle shift like this. And we still see so many teams out in the blue on the northern side still trying to fight and make their way in. Now JCR, they actually have a 2-2 split, 2 on the north, 2 on the south, and they're gatekeeping 2 different teams. They're fighting with Pro Era right now.
Wow, to be fair, I didn't even notice that as the circle shifts to the west, and I don't want to say I was right, but I was pretty damn right with my calculation of the circle ended around the JCR era. Pro era out in 13th. That's another surprise, unfortunate poor performance from the side of Pro era. They get capitalized by the two-man team of JCR and so in towards that area. HQA are outside the circle, but they're so far apart. They're very heavily split as a full squad, where it might come back to kind of a haunt them, so to speak, as teams are wrapping around them.
Yeah. This split, it's good for picking up kills, and it does control a lot of territory. And all 4 players of HQA, they're on mountainsides, right? So you see this now. HQA right now already with 3 kills, and the circle's gonna force all these other teams in. They're about to pick up a 4th, they're on 4 right now. So I like what HQA is doing. Capitalize on kills when the circles are hard shifting you, right? If you can't make it into the next zone, go for the kills.
I think Bishop from Mezexis is also pulling out a little bit of a heel strike, if I'm not mistaken. He does look to try and take a couple of shots off this circle. Still allows you to take a couple of shots before healing up. Bishop finds Flawless of Dior. No Mercy goes out. We're left with 11 teams. EFC are taking a brunt of damage down on the southwestern side of the circle, while HQA do look to join together and push in with those vehicles on towards the edge of the circle. But 2 of their players are knocked down. Leaves Cross. Actually leaves Yuanzi left on his own. He saw what he could do in the last game. Is he going to be able to do the same? No. SegmentX are waiting, and they go, ooh, 3 kills. Happy days. Goodbye there. Goodbye then. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, HQA wiped out just like that. Oh, I'm a little bit disappointed because we were looking at one player of HQA and he had 8 first aids. That could have easily secured them at least maybe 1 or 2 more placements.
But that's why, to me, they left it too late to join up as a full squad, because by the time they had to, they left no room to actually formulate any kind of plan. So I'm all for looking for kills, but if you got to think about the next step, and it went against them. JCR, wow. Full squad. They had a 2-2 split earlier. They're now towards the top of the hill, overlooking the likes of SegmentX. But Bishop is trying to do his best. He gets taken out, and JCR survive. We are left with 4 teams, and the EFC is still in the game. Coops, the man himself, the OP player, the legend of EFC, Coops, is still alive.
Yeah, Mr. Zigzag himself. I would like to see him zigzag across this one and take down 4 members this time, which of JCR on the top. Oh, spoke too soon. SegmentX actually takes down one of JCR. And Coops, I don't know if he knows there's another snake. No, he does not. And the Panthers. Oh, look, the Panthers.
Yes,
he was healing out in the blue.
I know.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. We're left with our final 2 teams. SegmentX going up against JCR. The circle is in the favor overall of JCR, but they're on the higher elevated ground, and it kind of gives them a little bit of a disadvantage. However, they're using the rocks in front of them to create not only more control, more freedom, but also more space to get the shots off onto SegmentX.
Yeah, the high ground this time, it's not just a flat high ground. Flat high ground is not as advantageous as one with like rocks and trees, right? So this time, JCR on the high ground, and with the zone, they have hard cover to play around. So that means they have more angles. Speaking of angles, though, King A finds the first one onto JCR.
Beautiful. While the blue zone of phase 7 is closing, and why not wrap around on the outside of the circle? Some teams aren't going to be expecting it. That's exactly what we saw with JCR, and they paid a price 2v3 in the favor of SegmentX. SegmentX off the back and finishing in 16th place with 0 points in game 1. They'll look to kick off their finals in a valiant fashion, but JCR being very strong. Nice free-fire shots coming out through. Lolo's going to get traded up, but it is 1v2 in the favor of SegmentX, and they get the final kill, they get the final blow, and they do claim chicken dinner in Sanhok.
They claim the chicken dinner with a massive amount of kills nonetheless. So they had a 0-point game number 1, and just like that, they're back in it, and just like that, Mezexis, you should have landed Painon, because look at what SegmentX just got because you gave them Painon.
Well,
yeah, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, fair. I like it. I like the shade being thrown towards Mezexis. A little bit of a feels bad man, but I get it. It was also the fact that, like, you know, where the circle did end was
Yeah.
a little bit is pretty heavily towards where I predicted. And SegmentX positioned themselves where they were able to just kind of take advantage of teams coming across the hill, like HQA, like, you know, the Panthers, etc., etc. There was a lot of teams they were able to punish. But I'm so impressed with JCR. They had a 2-2
JCR.
split up until like phase 5, and they dealt with Pro Era as a 2-man team. They dealt with LeveLx, as far as I know. They dealt with the Panthers. Okay, they were helped by M19, but still, that control was so good. It was confident. It was aggressive. It was clean.
It was the make it or break it point in the game, actually, because if they did focus all 4 players onto LeveLx easily, you know what would have happened? They give up the high ground. Pro Era takes it. Pro Era kills them. Pro Era finishes the way JCR did. So that decision to 2-2 that late in the game on Sanhok, nonetheless, I really want to commend and highlight that play, because these are the plays that, you know, a lot of spectators miss. We just think, oh, JCR, they just got zone blessed on high ground, right? Yes, they did, but if they made that one tiny mistake of not utilizing a split to control the south and the north and have the confidence in their players and their teammates to do that, they die early on, and even though they got zone blessed, they completely miss out on all the points they just did. So beautifully done by JCR, the second place team coming into Sanhok. Or not the second place team, the second place finish team.
Cool. EFC, hey, it may not have been a flashy, you know, jaw-dropping, you know, kill frenzy game like we saw them pull off in game 1, but it was on the opposite spectrum, which in my eyes is actually shows their strengths a lot more. They survived, they hunkered down, they you know, they kept a player alive. They played on the south side where less teams were, and they got themselves 13 points. Considering you add that to the game 1 chicken dinner, that's 2 top 3s, and that's going to be a hell of a lot of points, most likely keeping them in first place in the overall standing. So, you know, really like how EFC showed their a different side of them in this Sanhok game.
Yeah, they're showing they could get points no matter the circumstance. Those zone shifts was not a zone shift that ever let EFC just fight their way in. That was a circle shift where they had to snake their way in, and they could do it nonetheless. So EFC, so well done. They could do it all.
For sure. I know I kind of mentioned this during broadcast, but I think the team that lost out on the most was HQA. You know, maybe if they had pulled off a JCR strat and had a 2-2 split, that would allow them to like send 2 on the edge of the circle, keep 2 in the back line, control the teams on the outside. But because they had like pretty much a 1-1 split and they left it so late to move in, they went for like a deep dive, risky play, and they just all got smothered. It's just that like that little miss of an execution is hurting HQA. I kind of saw part of it in scrims. And to see it continue in the finals is a little bit of a feels bad, man.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that has a high skill level. It's just that execution towards the end. They need to clean up a little bit, and they'll be so much better off.
Oh, man. Well, 2 games down, 2 more to go for today. So join us in a couple of minutes. We will be bringing you the wonderful world of Miramar. Don't go away.
OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. Got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel.
OnePlus
8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. Got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel.
Halfway through the PMCO 2021 Spring Split North America Finals, brought to you by the OnePlus and the OnePlus AT. Zute, Miramar, that Sanhok game was crazy with the circle shifts, unexpected, but SegmentX really boosting their overall standings with a massive chicken dinner.
Yeah. You know that one song that goes like started from the bottom, now we're here? They were quite
Yes.
literally at the bottom with 0 points. And now they're in second place. So they from 0 points, meaning they did not care how well these other teams did. We don't care. We're going to erase that game.
Good.
And we're going to own this one. And now they're in second place. Of course, they're behind EFC, right? With 2 great game performances, but second place from 0 points. 1 game. That's all it takes.
Yeah, looking at the overall standings, indeed, you're dead right. SegmentX in second place. JCR in third, 23 points with 11 kills. That is really nice. I honestly can't praise him enough based on what we saw in Sanhok. PassionFruit holding on to fourth. HQA, again, like 15 points, 12 of them from kills, but only 3 placement points. I'm all for getting kills, but come on. You got to be able to last more than 15 minutes in the game, guys.
Yeah. They got the hard part down, which is getting the kills.
That's
right?
true.
Getting placement points. It's a little. So since we're on this topic, all they really need to do is tighten it up a little bit towards the end. When that circle shifts, get the team together, formulate a plan, and then do it.
Yeah.
Right now, they're just kind of all playing individually, so to say. And as each individual player, they're so strong. That's how they're racking up all these kill points without, just getting circle blasts and shooting players as they come in. So HQA, this is a good start. I think this is a really good start for them. They're sitting in 7th overall with almost no placement points, and it's all kill points. Just change it up, tighten it up. Should be easy, quick fix. I'm expecting them to do better as the games go on.
M19 are in a little bit of a similar situation, but I kind of want to highlight them a bit more because I kind of coming into this a little bit question their ability to get the relevant kills in the finals, because in the group stage they were a team with kind of some of the lowest kills compared to the teams around them. They got 58 kill points compared to PassionFruit with 77 and EFC with 70, either side of them, right? So I just kind of thought, in a harder lobby, they might struggle. But 9 kills, hey, they're kind of low-key proved me wrong. But we'll have to wait and see if they can pick things up from a placement standpoint.
Yeah, as far as placement goes, we've had 2 games with really abnormal hard shifts, and the zone ended in, on Sanhok, the zone ended in a position that a lot of teams did not ever have practice fighting into. So I'm going to use that as the reason why, some of these placement points are a bit skewed compared to the kill points. It's forcing these teams to, hey, your only option is to get kill points. Then again, though, on the flip side, a team like EFC, if your team really knows what they're doing, no matter how the circle is, you could do both. You could get the placement points and the kill points. When you see that balance, when you have that direction on the team, when your team is working together as a unified unit, so to say, both will come along. But yeah, 2 crazy games as far as circles go, nonetheless.
Yeah. It's day 1 out of 4 days, 16 games, so there's 4 extra games compared to the group stages, so it does allow a little bit more freedom to have, let's say, a poor day and then come into tomorrow with a bit more confidence doing your relevant work. And I know we're going to see a lot of placement changes. I credit JCR right now, but I wonder how long they're going to be able to keep it up for from that standpoint when teams learn to let's say counter them. Because when a team, let's say, comes from an unknown space, they do, and they kind of go, wait, we're here, guys. they kind of get a little bit of a target on their back. So, I'm curious to see if JCR are going to be able to deal with that in due time. But game 3 in Mirror Mania for day 1 of the NA PMCO Finals is about to kick off. The desert tundras of the Miramar terrain. Look at it. Beautiful. So beautiful, but I'm not going to lie. Can I tell where it's going? I think it's going from east to west.
It's a good one. Yeah. East to west, and it's a good plane path. Plane is angled to the north. Yeah. So this is actually almost as good as it gets in terms of plane path for Miramar.
That's
definitely
true.
a blessing for these teams, given what they've had to go through in the first 2 games. And you said it earlier, and I just realized you're absolutely right, Imperium. This is only day number 1. With I don't know what it is. Is it be it the circles or the action or just how excited I am that we're in the finals now and all these teams. We didn't touch on this yet, but these teams are trying to get top 8 for PMPL. And in my opinion, PMCO, as great as an accomplishment as it is, what really kind of gives your team and you as a player as some respect in regards to from the veteran eyes, right, is you have to make it into PMPL. And not only that, once you get into PMPL, you have to do decent, right? So right now, all these teams, PMCO, great job so far. Definitely give give yourself a pat on the back. But what they all really want is PMPL. They all want to solidify themselves as that, PMPL team, put it on their Twitter, banners on their profile, PMPL qualified, we see it all the time. But PMPL is where it's at, honestly. And this is where these guys are trying to go. And this circle, it's a good one too. So
it is.
Give these teams a little bit of a break. Punjab and M19, though, both dropping in El Pozo. It's a big city. There shouldn't be any issues. And as far as all the other teams go, they're evenly spread out. Cars should be good to go. Rotations into the first circle, plenty of road access, plenty of different pathways. We're off to a nice, peaceful game number 1 for Miramar.
Yeah, to extend on what you're saying about the PMPL, I kind of consider, going from high school to college, right? Where you have to actually stand a bit more on your own 2 feet, where you really have to think about really where you kind of want to go and what you want to achieve within the PMPL. You have way more eyes on you. You have more responsibility. It's automatically a more worldwide kind of, eyes on the teams that are going to, because the teams that go from PMPL, they could be looking towards the PMGC at the end of the year. So it is going to be very, very important that teams are aware of that. Now, in this current moment of the PMCO finals, should they be worrying about it? I would say no, because don't run before you can walk, but at least be aware that that's what you're going to be running into should you qualify for the PMPL.
Yeah, and it really depends on what caliber of a team you are coming into the PMCO finals, right? There's a very few select teams that I would say PMPL is not, their end goal. They're looking past that. Teams like EFC. We have some very veteran players on SegmentX. King A, the IGL of SegmentX, he's already competed on the world's level stage, right? So his eyes are set past PMPL. But for all these other teams, and I might be missing 1 or 2, sorry if I am, no discredit to you guys, but just getting into PMPL should be the focus. Once you get there, it's honestly a whole nother playing field. The skill change. Like, we got teams like the X Tempo Storms team, right? With Beowulf, Spec. Those are the caliber. Yeah. That's the level of teams. Execute, that went to PMGC last year. Those are the level of teams waiting for you in PMPL. So, absolutely right. Right now, you're just learning how to walk. Once you get there, then you got to start running, man, and you got to start learning how to run and run fast and hard. But we have 12 more games to determine who makes it. 14.
No, it's 14.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. 14 more games until we actually determine who makes it into the PMPL.
PassionFruit starting to disengage away from Picado, and I really appreciate that they're moving away from that city relatively early at the start of the blue zone, closing in at phase 1, because it is a kind of position. I know it's not super center in the circle, but it is still the kind of position where you can get caught out in if you do leave it too late to rotate, as M19 decided, of course, as expected, to not to engage with Punjab in the El Pozo train, and seems to be rotating, I think, around as far as I know, they're rotating around the west of Monte Nuevo area to get into the south side of the circle.
And we're seeing, it's 6 minutes in, the teams are making their rotations. And one key thing to note, each time we have the camera on a team rotating, sometimes we usually see teams, in the background rotating along with them. Like, not close to them, but, close enough that we could see them on the spectator. But in this case, you don't really see that. And it's like I said earlier, there's a lot of different pathings into this first circle. The circle's very nice. The teams are evenly spaced out off drop. So, won't be seeing any shenanigans. We do see SegmentX here kind of in the distance to Pro Era and Keyseeks. I think they are doing a scout. That's a very standard scout from point A to point B. They should not be caught out, with their pants down. Yeah, they're doing a great job scouting this. They might just circumvent it all completely and keep going further into the central position of the circle.
Because this phase 1 complemented the plane path pretty well, and the plane path itself was one of the, if not the best plane path we've had all day, it's a relatively quiet phase 1. The map is big enough as well, so that it does allow teams to generally rotate without getting caught out too much. But we are seeing EFC going to take a little bit of tickle and punishment.
Oh, they're fighting.
Pushing in. What, Coops? Coops, okay, that was a little bit of a turn for the worst of EFC as they turn around, and I get the all suddenness of it, but seems like they were unprepared for that one, and they instantly lose a player, but still 3 players strong going up against Punjab United. Now, Punjab United have a 4th on the hills above. Should they keep that player in the hills above or bring him down?
Off of that knock, definitely keep him up here. That's the security, that's the overwatch. There's no need to... Oh, pushing 1 by 1, though. Pushing 1 by 1, though. Slicky, XTV SFU, that's this Slicky getting a quick 2-piece, and now they're getting that reset. And okay, Punjab, it is just all going downhill, just like that.
Punjab, like, that's what I didn't think this was gonna go so quickly, or at least against Punjab. That's why I asked about Oscar, if he should go down. Whereas, why would you go if you have a player in the off angle? Why would you push in the direction where your teammate in the backline can't support you? Try to bait EFC into the open, but they pushed, and 1 by 1, as you said.
That's the biggest mistake.
Yeah, that I hate to criticize him too much, but that was so bad. Now, he might get 1 knockdown. I don't know if he's going to be able to confirm that. It might be a little bit of a shining light. Nah, that's not going to fall on through. I know. Definitely disappointed in Punjab.
Yeah, and Oscar shouldn't have shot. EFC is all EFC is going to do is hunt this last player down now, because Oscar gave away his position. There was no way for him to get that thirst. If he shot and didn't reload and try to get the thirst, okay, you're going for a kill point. I get it. But he shot and instantly reloaded, meaning he wasn't ever planning on thirsting. So why? You're the last one up.
I know.
Man, and
I know.
The circle did shift, which might be Oscar's saving grace. EFC might give this up because the circle shifted, but they're nowhere close to it, so they might just go and hunt him down nonetheless. It is looking like that is what EFC is doing. I want to backtrack real quick. That was very aggressive out of EFC. Is it because they're in first place overall, or is there other reasons? This is what I think.
That's true.
They're on the very edge during that rotation, right? And they got shot at from a compound on the very edge. What typically happens is you have one player on a team still looting before they rotate with the rest of their team.
Okay.
And so EFC was probably thinking it's one player, two at most. You don't usually see a three-man team on the very edge of a Miramar circle at a compound all together looting one area. That is very non-typical. And so I think that's the real reason behind why EFC had a sudden quick turn in aggression. They're thinking, we're on the edge of zone, we get shot at, probably one player from a team that hasn't rotated yet, you know, looting by himself. It still works out for EFC, though, that there were more players because they're about to get 4 kill points and not just the one that they were probably expecting.
And he has to be a little bit careful not to overpeak this because he's closing on phase 2. He goes for those pre-fire shots with the Uzi, and I don't know why I had any doubt. He knocked it out of the park, and indeed, hunting that kill has paid off. They will have to come in on the edge of phase 2, but because they were already far away from the circle, so to speak, why not just wait and allow the team to go kind of more central of phase 2, giving you more space inside this current circle. One thing to kind of point about this phase 2 is that it does encapsulate like the whole of Los Leones, so I hope no team has gone there. You do have the south side of Los Leones, which is definitely viable around the warehouses, but please, I don't want to see anybody in the city on phase 2.
Yeah, city play. If you're using the city, like you said, on the south side as a rotational standpoint, that is perfectly fine. But if you're in the dead of the city because you're not sure where else to go on the map and you're just trying to find some spot to stay alive in, not the best, right? Miramar, it's all about the rotations, and circles 1 through 4, it's all about wrapping and rotating in the right way to avoid team
Getting
fights.
information
because,
as well.
Yeah, getting information. And then key point number 2, set yourself up for the next, hard shift. You always got to expect the hard shifts on Miramar. So the rotational point you decide to pick is also important.
Yeah, you've talked about it, right? The disengagement is just as important as the engagement in terms of, the entry point and exit point of a rotation. Phase 3 is going to show up. Is it going to stick up northeast towards Los Leones, or is it going to go down the southwest? It's pretty nice. It's centralized, stays down south, so the majority of Los Leones is out of play.
Yeah, the majority. I say like maybe 1/5 of Los Leones is in play. This circle, very, very, very common circle. I've seen this so much out of Miramar. All the teams should be very familiar. SegmentX, we see that hard rotation straight down south. I know exactly where they're going to end up going. They love that position. Perfect rotation. And another thing, on this circle shift, right, we're going into the 4th circle. If you were in the center of the previous circle and you see that hard shift down south and you end up on the edge of it, go for that almost Hail Mary rotation because there's so many teams there's so many teams way further out on the edge. You end up being one of the few teams that is able to get to the center of a 4th circle. If you were, So key rule of thumb, hard shift, whenever the 4th circle hard shift comes out on Miramar, right? When that circle pops up, if you end up on the edge of it, that actually means a lot of the spacing in front of you, more towards the center, is very clear. Because if you zoom out on the map and think about where all the other teams were previous to that shift, you'll realize there's maybe 3 teams coming in from the blue still on the edge. And then there's like maybe 4 other teams a little bit more central, but off center edge like you were. So if you go more central from your position specifically, you should be able to find something to play in that's more center on the 4th circle hard shift. So you always want to take advantage of that. That's something I learned on Miramar as a player going into that 4th circle hard shift. You got to recognize when you actually do kind of get circle blessed without getting circle blessed.
That's fair. That's fair. And it's kind of like making your own circle blessing rather than, letting the circle blessing come to through. Wow. You hear onto Louis, just like that, you are out of here, and that leaves Chi Wong and along with Cross. I think left as a 2-man team, if I'm not mistaken. So HQA, this game not looking the best, losing a couple of players right off the bat as the Blue Zone is hitting towards the edge of phase 3 at the 15-minute mark of this game. And I feel like this phase 4 shift is also going to be a little bit of a breaking point where we do see probably the most amount of fights in this game so far, depending obviously on where it shifts.
Yeah, and Dior set up in a great spot right now. They're looking to, hunt some rotating players down. PassionFruit might just be their next prey after they take down a member of HQA. And, ooh, is he? Oh, he just goes down to the play zone. And that circle shift does come out. We're looking at maybe a Panther Hill ending, potentially. That's the hill on the east side where Dior is sitting on right now. Part of it is in play. I do see them just holding that hill for the next circle, but this is a hard shift. Now, with this hard shift, this is when the Hail Marys, you got to be a little bit more careful. The circle's getting really small. Look at all these teams getting knocked down to the play zone. PassionFruit really eating it right now. And LeveLx
Also,
just as well. Oh.
Are we going to have like 5 teams in that compound that we support farmers in, right? Because that was the compound kind of opposite the Panthers Hill. Curious to see if we're going to have a couple of fights in that area. There is a little bit of a low ground dip where EFC and I'm not sure who that is. I think it's Mezexis or one of the other teams are coming in. It's M19 actually as a happens because they're fighting on the southern edge.
Yep.
But JCR, they're once again a little bit circle blessed as G1 gets knocked out.
Yeah, this fight between M19 and EFC coming out. Now, EFC, they're down to a 3-man, whereas they usually would be a 4-man, and it is turning the tides of the fight. Skirt with the amazing knock and thirst. I think it's just down to one. No, EFC did get wiped out by M19.
Ooh, lovely grenades being thrown out by Skirt. That allowed him to pull on through. Actually, no, maybe his revenge, but either way, good stuff from M19. They are going to have another team coming on in them, though. They'll have to be aware of his Pro Era. Up as a full squad coming in on the western edge of the circle, looking to take shots towards the members of Warning 6. Sprays through onto the Scar Fishy as he chucks out a smoke to try and give him a little bit more wiggle room to play with by the side of that container. Sega is also sending smoke out in front of him, so once again they can push a little bit forward. They do have to be careful because when you see smokes, there's a higher chance grenades are going to be thrown in your direction to suppress that movement while the revive is being pulled off onto his teammate.
Yeah, Pro Era definitely not off to a good first 2 games, but this is the first time we get to see them in an isolated 4v4. If they can manage to execute this properly, this should give them a much better boost and morale of like, hey, we just had a rough first 2 games. Whatever, it happens. We can still fight. We know our teamwork is strong and they are able to push in. We saw one player rotating down away from the fight. Maybe they are looking to disengage it. I'm not too sure. But speaking about disengagements, we got all these other teams coming into the circle about to do their own engagements themselves.
Oh, Syndicate, you're going right into the hands of M19 down on the south edge of the circle. Teammates, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive that blue zone, but Syndicate are still up as a full squad, so they are kind of spreading themselves out a little bit. See a vehicle, most likely thinking there's a player in towards those hay bales. Pre-grenade being thrown up by Chinu. Might connect, he's going to have to dip away from that side, and Chinu goes down. LeveLx are out of here, 13 teams left.
Syndicate with a great position right there. They didn't want to fight into M19 that was holding the compounds. Do a little bit more scouting. Find a nice little dip where, unfortunately, LeveLx player was. And the circle, it is keeping Panther Hill in play, but I think it's only the low ground of Panther Hill. You see, oh, nice shot out of M19 long distance. And this is another hardship towards the west. The circles are not nice today. And Pro Era, yeah, they did circumvent right in front of Warning 6 and got in front and are gatekeeping them instead. Really good job out of Pro Era. 3 kill points already.
They only lost Fishy with that as well, so that was good. They do still have to challenge for a position in the circle. Maybe they're taking their time a little bit too much. I know they don't want to drive away because there's a really high chance they can get kind of stabbed in the back from the Rotas in the blue, but they have to think about moving on through as Mezexis are going to get engaged upon with the Thompson driven. King A from SegmentX, the last player standing for his side. That's going to be the end of Mezexis after third party of Team Ace. Kills are stolen away, but King A will still be relatively happy with that, as it does give him just a tiny bit more, just a teeny bit more space to move into the edge of the circle.
That is probably the most beautiful bus he has ever seen. Last player alive and running on the street open, and you see a bus. Oh, bless.
M19 now move away from their position. They're going to get put into a fight with Pro Era, but they're trading it up. Seagull, he goes down. M19 pick up their 6th kill, but they're not in the edge of the circle just yet. I think it is We Support Farmers that are on the eastern edge of this current phase, and they will have heard a lot of those shots, but they still have to move in themselves because they're not quite in the circle.
Yeah, and the circle is going to shift again very soon. We have JCR down the middle of the circle, controlling the hills. Panthers on the low ground, just hugging the bottom side. Last player of Ace circling all the way around, trying to find something to play. And HQA,
Yeah.
I believe Cross has been sitting there and slowly moving his way in on all the Western hardships. This little by little and beautiful nade by Flawless onto Rad.
Flawless. With a flawless nade to take down Rad. Now going to look to push upon it, and Quick is going to try and make quick serial shots with the players. The Syndicate even confirmed that kill, but I think that's an M249 I hear, and that's Issue taking down Flawless. So don't knock an M249, I'll tell you that much. And Nate is going to be chucked out by Asen, playing for the outside of the circle, or just on the edge of the circle, while the next phase is about to pop up. It does stay in the direction of these two teams. There's a road in the middle, and that puts so much pressure on the Panthers, the Team Ace, and JCR.
Yeah, Dior, I love the aggression, right? They're trying to see if they can wipe out this team. They go for it. One of them gets knocked. Circle shifts. Hey, Syndicate's in zone. We're in zone. Okay, we'll just let them chill. They're not going to push us because they have circle. We're going to go back to our side and control our side of the zone.
Lovely couple of peak shots coming out from Issue. Syndicate, you know, I always say that if you peek up and you take shots, never stay there for too long, because you will get absolutely punished for that. And Issue recognize that. He's going to reload his gun. He's still 81 bullets. He technically didn't have to do it, but he has the time, as We Support Farmers are getting somewhat gate-kept by M19. And M19 were behind We Support Farmers, but now they're ahead. That must be a little bit of a slow rotation from We Support Farmers, and they might end up paying the price for that while this fight still rages on between Dior and Syndicate.
Yeah, you mentioned really quickly you like the peaks coming out of Issue. Those peaks are the peaks you need when we saw in game number 1, PassionFruit on top of the hill, right? He was spraying with that DP a little bit too long, and he got punished for it. So even when you have the advantage from peeking from behind cover or high ground, you have to respect the level of players playing in this tournament.
For sure.
And you cannot shoot for too long.
Ivorian Fraser is going to go down, and that's a confirmation. And one by one, We Support Farmers are wiped out in this lobby, and we have 7 teams left. The Panthers, JCR, they're going to be battling for the northern edge of the circle, and it is indeed the Panthers are at least putting JCR down to 2 players, but those 2 players are inside the circle. Dior still up as a 3-man team. They have 2 on the northwestern edge of the circle and 1 on kind of the western edge of the circle. Really great positioning from Dior on top of the Panthers mountain, as a fight with that SLR, taking a couple of shots off on towards the last player of HQA. Cross is given a cross of space to try and stay alive in this game. He is, I believe, still in the blue of phase 6, so I don't know how he's going to hold on. Fox gets a knock on the Fi.
Fi has a classic SLR Tommy gun combo, you know, the best combo of weapons there is.
Oh, yeah. The
but
classic
he does take
meta.
Yeah, he takes way too many shots though and draws the attention of the Panther that was sneaking behind him, and now he gets backstabbed in the back, leaving JCR just down to one player, and that is the likes of Murda, and he's gonna try and rotate in with that bust.
Oh no!
I don't know how far he's gonna
no.
make it though. Oh
Man, I know the circle's away from you, but it kind of comes a point in the game where you have to actually play for the edge of the circle and hope you can grab a couple of kills rather than try getting into a minivan to get a revive onto your teammate that is clearly going to be targeted by the team that's behind you, and which the noise you're making with that vehicle. So yeah, that was nearly horribly wrong for murder of JCR, but they're still going to try and hold on. The Panthers are definitely being a heavy thorn in the side for the side of JCR, but they're doing such a great job. M19 are pretty much the only team inside the circle. Syndicate, I think, hold on to a very tiny little edge down on the western side of this phase 7.
Now we're going to see the re-engagement once again out of Dior and Syndicate. They're going to go up for it. Round number 3, I believe, with this engagement. Syndicate with the better positioning as far as cover goes, but they are kind of pocketing themselves in for grenades if Dior has any left.
Yes, that's if they have any left. Murder goes down. That's the end of JCR. 4 teams left standing. Molotov being chucked at by Syndicate. You asked if they have more nades. They do indeed have more nades. That's going to separate the member of Syndicate like Noah's Ark, so to speak. And Flawless finds Foxo. As much as they're trying to fight Syndicate, they're not afraid to look over the dip on the teams on the other side of the road. That's great awareness from Dior.
Yeah, just pick up whatever kills you can at this point. They didn't get that opening onto Syndicate that they would have liked. So now they know they have to do a harder push in. Nesquik snaking his in. He might be able to get the opening. Flawless goes down really low right here.
And I don't think Dior even have a couple of smokes that they can use to defend themselves with Skur from the sidelines, third partying that one to get knocked down. And oh my lord, Nesquik is going to fight his way through, and he's going to get that squad wipe onto the side of Syndicate, and we're left with 3 teams, M19, Dior, and the Panthers. Dior even kept themselves up as a 3-man team. Now Clue's going to push in towards the side of that tree, looking to make their way across the road, recognizing that they need to fight. They need the whole protection area inside the circle, but Clue is going to go down at the hands of Batman Nesquik, snaking his way through.
Perfect third party from M19 onto Syndicate and the kill feed. That's what won Dior that fight, but it's not over for them yet. We have 3 teams left.
Look at the last player of the Panthers.
Yeah.
M19 have absolutely no idea he's there, and all he's waiting for is the perfect time to strike. His eyes are glued to the kill feed. Absolutely glued, but Nesquik has sightlines. He finds him, but that could in some way be the death of Dior. However, an extra kill, an extra replacement point, they do not care. And M19 has most likely been gifted this chicken dinner in Miramar.
About to hit that 12 kill mark. 2 great game for M19, but can Nesquik pull out that zigzag that we saw Coops did? Nesquik is actually going to deny the kill point. I love that.
Nice.
Deny the kill point, because every point is so crucial, and he will not give it up to M19. M19 gets that chicken dinner, though, with a total of 11 kills.
Skur is the Robin to M19's Batman as they pick up 11 kills with that chicken dinner. And honestly, as big of a deserved chicken dinner as, like, let's say JCR deserved to get that, even though they didn't in Sanhok, because they fought on the edge, they controlled teams pushing in, they took fights against Pro Air, they got ahead of We Support Farmers, they took We Support Farmers out. Yeah, okay, they got a little bit of help from the Panthers, but they still took down one of the players of the Panthers from that point of view, and it was beautifully controlled. Dior in second place, kind of doing something similar, picking up 9 kills for themselves, and the Panthers, hey, they're in this game in third with 4 kills.
Yeah, good performance by the Panther. I think one key point I liked is when they were trying to make their way in, and they knew that team a team was in front of them. I can't recall who, but they just went around the left side, and that's when they shot one of the players with the SLR and the Tommy in the back, and then they snaked the rest of their way in. great, use of finding options to go in, even at such a small circle. When you go that late into the game, you never know what small little ridge becomes, your biggest friend. And we saw it there. The Panthers securing a third place finish off the back of that game.
And, other than M19, no other team got more than double-digit kills. It was 9 kills for Dior, to be fair, but all the other kills were relatively spread out across the table, across the standings. Like, as an example, Team Ace and Pro Era, they got 4 kills each, even though they didn't get the highest amount of placement points in that regard. And even ESC, although they finished low down, still got 4 kills to give them 4 points in total for that game. So it was a mixed bag across these teams, and that can be the case in Miramar because you can have those long range fights despite the circles shifting away, and you can have those teams picking up a kill or two based on teams rotating a little bit, maybe wild or just a little bit kind of, unfortunate based on those circle shifts. But either way, honestly, I really like that, really like that Miramar game.
Yeah, M19 got the chicken dinner, and we should highlight them a little bit more here. They fought their way into those zone shifts, and those zone shifts were not easy. We saw them take out EFC. We saw them, you mentioned it, got into a fight with Pro Era. And even when they were fighting Pro Era, they weren't in the next zone yet. That was simply a stopping point for them to get some more info, and that was even contested. So M19, that was a really great, stellar performance out of them. And that's how they picked up so many kills. They had to fight their way in all the way through.
Like I said, I worried about them coming into the finals, and they needed these placement points, to be fair, because they only had 3 up until now. But those 11 kills from this game alone added to the 12, that's going to be like 23 kills total. That's easily putting them into the top 3, top 4. So very well deserved from M19. But we still have one more game to go for tonight's day 1 of the PMCO North America Finals, brought to you by OnePlus and OnePlus AT. We will, of course, be ending the evening on Erangel, so don't go away. See you guys in a bit.
OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. We got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel. OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. We got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel.
Day one of the PUBG Mobile PMCO North America Finals. Hell yeah, feels good to say that. Brought to you, of course, by the wonderful folks over at OnePlus and the OnePlus 8T. We're getting into our final game of the day, and I think if there was a Sesame Street word of the day, Zute, it would be hard shift.
Sesame. I like that. Yeah, hard shifts all game for 3 games in a row. Going into game number 4, there's no way for 4 games in a row we're going to see hard shifts, but just because I've said it might be, a military circle hard shift ending on game number 4. Hard shifts aside.
See,
on
my
a side list note, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if it's phase 1 military island, do hard shifts technically count at that point?
No, I'm saying where it's like the 30% military island, but then it goes down to military island. That's
okay. Fair. So what were you saying about your predictions?
Yeah, we have had a lot of hard shifts, right? And we usually, make the excuse of all these games are hard shifted. The circles are weird. Of course, consistency is a little bit questionable, but the teams I predicted for top 8 is looking a little bit better than yours, even with these hardships. So I think it still takes experience from these teams. When they get hard shifted, good teams will still make it happen.
Did you just put that side, that side thing of see, I got you there. I got you there.
I did.
You know what? I can respect that. But I will say, as we do move to the leaderboard, there's only 30 points dividing first and 14. So you know what? Eyes are open. I'm playing the long game, Zute. I'm playing the long game. Okay. I'm no shore comer. I always look at the long game. Thank you very much. No, I'm just joking. But in the overall standings, EFC still currently hold on to first place with M19 off the back of that chicken dinner, pushing themselves up to second.
Yeah, and M19 second place behind EFC by only 3 points. That's so surprising to me because we saw EFC with a really good chicken dinner game 1. They had a good placement game 2, but M19 in games 1 and 2, we didn't really notice too much about them. And just one chicken dinner with 11 kills puts them 3 points behind the first place team. Of course, we're very early into the stages of the tournament right now. As far as the finals go, we're only 3 games in. We're about to go into our 4th. So the leaderboards is going to shake up back and forth constantly. But
so true.
It's still looking really good for the teams that I picked.
Oh my God. Really proud to see M19 actually be the highest kill leader at the moment of the lobby, especially considering that, what I feared for them. So they're not only proving me wrong, but they're proving a lot of people wrong, to be fair. Syndicate are in 8th on 21 points, but PassionFruit are in 9th on 20. It is seriously so open right now. Dior in 5th, but they're only 1 point behind JCR. They're only 10 points ahead of PassionFruit. There's a long way to go. I suppose I would say Punjab United are not feeling too good right now. They're in last place with only 3 points in 3 games. That's a yikes.
Yeah, 1 point a game is a definite yikes. they're going to need one pop-off game, either this last one or coming into day number 2, the first one. Because if it keeps staying downhill on a downward slope like this for them, it's not going to look well. And speaking about the last game, we're going to see it soon. Is Punjab on this Erangel map? Are they going to, end the day on a strong note, or are they going to just, keep simmering down there on the bottom? But we're about to head in, and we do have that plane coming down from the south straight up to the north, very central of the map. Very good plane path. But with a good plane path, always comes bad circles on Erangel. At least that's what I'm hoping for. All the teams.
Wow.
Very easy.
Wow.
Go wherever you want. Even Kameshki. Teams could probably make it to Kameshki, where PassionFruit actually does land as their alternate drop spot, depending on the plane path.
I seriously can't get over how split in the middle that plane path is, going from south to north. Punjab United are going to be able to get to Nova, which is pretty standard stuff. The Panthers will drop around the Ferry Pier area. JCR will go to the southwest. This is all going to be pretty common. All things considered, Pro Era will go to Rozhawk. Of course, EFC will have to be aware that they will be one of the kind of last teams looting up because of their drop spot being at the very end. You think it works for them though, right?
Yeah, because they always play from the edge regardless, right? So the fact that it takes longer for them to rotate just puts them even more, theoretically at the edge, so to say. Okay. So they on Erangel, it really does not matter when you rotate out if you are an edge team, that is. If you are an edge team, you can take as long as you want to loot. But PassionFruit, is Kameshki their actual prime drop spot? Because we see them dropping around next to EFC in the north, and there's definitely not enough loot there for them to, finish off an Erangel game. So I think they're looking for cars, and they are going to go over to Kameshki Stalber to finish their looting phase.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that they kind of go to Stalbar, less so Kameshki, just based on what we saw with this phase 1. And phase 1 is quite similar to what we had in game 1. It's a bit more to the east, but it's still, it's still kind of is hovering in the danger of like continuing in the direction of where the phases were in game 1. So I'm wondering if a couple of teams will maybe learn from that and rotate in a little bit different of a path line in phase 1, phase 2, or whether it's just going to be like, hey, we feel good. It was just different circumstances. We know what we're doing with our rotation, and we'll play it through.
Yeah, I think teams are going to do their regular rotations. The first game of Erangel today, similar circle, but we had that hard shift up north, that hard shift down south, and it just went, it was crazy. It was very unnatural. So I don't think teams should let that first game of Erangel spook them, where they start changing their rotation or slowing down their rotation by any means. Game 1 was very abnormal, to say the least.
Oh, man. Punjab United were one of the first teams to drop because they made their way to Novo, but they do have a bit of a tricky path line to move into the circle, because if they rotate at the wrong time, even heading towards the either bridge, to be fair, they could get caught out. So to me, what I'd recommend is that they actually leave it until pretty much phase 2 pops up before rotating onto the eastern bridge and then coming into a circle from the mainland. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Zute.
Yeah, I actually do like that idea, because if they take the eastern bridge, which is not currently in zone, nobody should be camping them out in the blue circle on the first zone, right? There's no reason for any teams to target Punjab right now. So wait for that circle shift and then go ahead and go, take it safe. But that is if they're a team that's comfortable with rotating late and maybe playing a little bit more on the edge coming into circle 2 and 3. If Punjab is not accustomed to that, we might see them try and rotate early, which timing-wise might just end up being the perfect disastrous timing for them to run into a team. So you got to be able to be a team that can adjust, and the only way you can adjust
So
is if
true.
you know how to play the game in different manners, and that takes so much time to master and get down.
We saw Team Ace in game one. They went on to Pachinki Hill relatively early, and two of their players got caught out. I believe it was by Warning 6, who were definitely quite aggressive in that area. Hope they don't make the same mistake again, especially because this phase one is a little bit more east compared to game one. So that Pachinki Hill is definitely a lot more viable and a lot stronger to hold on to. So you really have to hold that position with responsibility.
Yeah, and HQA here this time doing a earlier rotation, right? Actually,
Fair.
game number one, maybe they wanted to do that early rotation, but we did see them pick up 2 quick kills on Mezexis, so that ended up slowing down their rotation so much to the point where we saw them do that crazy one down the middle, where they got absolutely torn apart. But this time, no free kills means earlier rotation, which means better finish overall, maybe for HQA. It's a weird domino effect, right? Like,
I love how you kind of ask it in terms of like a question format. It's like,
yeah,
hey, is your rotation? But you are right. I agree with you. Yeah. There is that little bit of a domino effect. But even just based on that rotation alone, they are clearly like not going as deep in phase one, and they are kind of setting themselves up for, obviously an easier rotation in phase two. So it clearly is a more solid early game from HQA.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier for Punjab, right? Take that Eastern Bridge. You're absolutely right. If they're a team that goes for the Western Bridge because they want to get more central into circle earlier on, you got Panthers set up here, and it's because it's inside the circle. Panthers might just be edging, right? They're not necessarily bridge camping. They're probably just waiting to see the circle shift to get a better idea of where to position. So it might just work out if Punjab comes through here that, hey, we get some kill points, bridge camping, when that wasn't really our ultimate goal.
EFC, you know where you're going? Are you lost? As they're rotating through the Yasnaya, is that through the Yasnaya fields? Yes, on the northeastern edge of the circle? I kind of think it is. Yeah, exactly. So instead of them going from Severny into, let's say, the compounds that's by the river outside George Paul, they've opted to go in through kind of the Yasnaya train and come in to the circle from the mainland. What do you make of that?
This is what this looks like, right? They know they're going to edge regardless. So it looks like they're actually hunting for a team. They're trying to spot out stragglers that are on rotation. Because think about it. If you're going to be on the edge of circle and you're not prioritizing rotations the first few circles, why not look for those isolated, fights on the edge? And it's not even a 4v4, so to say. It might be teams rotating a little bit slow or broken up, so you can maybe do quick, easy 4v2s,
so true,
4v1s. And we saw it on the last day of PMCO group stage, right? Telly told us, look, we're adjusting our play style. We're going to look to be more aggressive. We know these teams, a lot of teams like to end up edging on the side. And here we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm telling you, M19 is looking to hunt, and no jokes about it. They're looking to hunt and kill players down on the edge.
My lord. Oh my lord, this is Mad Max and Erangel is his first and second overall in the standings are going for a little bit of a juicy firefight on each other. Skrr is dipping away inside the boogie, and they don't want anything to do with that on the edge of the circle. And ESC, they're not going to let them get away with it too quickly as phase 2 pops up. Luckily for M19, none of them are hurt too badly or knocked down, and they might even opt to go outside the circle around Yasnaya and come in via north of the river. Either way, EFC have instantly changed their rotate. Oh no! Oh no! Oh my lord! XTV finds that kill, and that is gonna be Batman out of there.
Yeah, like I said, why not? If you're not a team that wants central position circles 1 through 4, Why not do this? And especially EFC being the veteran team they are and probably the strongest team fighting team
Look at
in
them.
this lobby.
They're
Go for
chasing.
it. Yeah.
They're
Go for- is
chasing.
there-
Oh my
that
god,
bump?
Coops! No,
That
we ruined
bump!
it. That's like a 2 out of 10. Oh my lord! Might be able to still find his shots on the Skur, and Skur is gonna be knocked down. And oh my, Coops! Come on, man! Like, have some mercy, UFC.
Yeah. M19 obviously not prepared for this. EFC though, this is what they were looking for. And I like it. Because going into PMPL, I doubt they're going to play this way in PMPL where, you get a lobby full of way stronger teams.
They're gonna
But
take
it's
the fight,
working
so
out
to
for them.
speak.
Yeah, they would take the fight, If M19 was a more veteran team and they instantly realized when you get shot at on the edge of blue, when the circle is closing in, your first thought has got to be, okay, this team is looking to hunt us. Oh, Ralphino.
Oh no. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. I think that sums up their last game. I think that kind of just sums up the fourth game for them, right? Hello Darkness, my old friend, is kind of the only thing I can think of for M19. It doesn't take away the fantastic day they've had, but it will clearly hurt them in the overall standings and the cushion. It's somewhat formed on a few teams below them. But Phase 2 did kind of shift over to the West a little bit more. We didn't really get to talk about it too much, but as the Blue Zone is closing in, hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to have a look at where these teams are located, positioned, and who's looking really good coming into Phase 3.
Yeah. We caught it. Ralphino actually goes out to the play zone too. There was 2 members up for M19. The other player not even close enough to get that revive on. So, yeah, M19 definitely flustered by what just happened. Ralphino accidentally flipping the buggy. I don't even know what to say. Like, that's all we were watching. But here's something for us to watch. Warning 6 and the Panthers. I like this. Peralta's on a forward scouting position while his team heavily is more focused on protecting the flank. That's what you should always do when you're raiding on a rotational circle. They're not looking to take a fight. So just have one player scout for info. There's no need to have 2 or 3 players shooting on the inside. You want your flank protected. So when that circle does come out, you can rotate and the circle shifts dead center. As perfect as a central shift can be. HQA getting blessed with that one. Dead center. 2-2 split. I could see them holding this still. Should not be a problem to continue holding. EFC now coming in from the north. And EFC is going to push PassionFruit. I know that position specifically that PassionFruit is holding. EFC has pushed this compound so many times in different scrims.
Yeah.
And I'm betting you 100% they're going to take this fight right here.
Yeah, but PassionFruit will have heard the sound of the vehicle, so they will be somewhat prepared for that. And it is important that ESC plays on towards a low grounded hill where they might have a bit more room to position around, catch out the players of PassionFruit a little bit. One thing to note about this Phase 3 shift is it does put Chopsticks heavily in play, and it's a very risky area to hold on to, but because it is the center of the circle, some teams clearly will take that risk and will take that chance to hold on to the Chopsticks train and the buildings around it. So we'll have to see who is going to look to use that. But that is a lovely spread from EFC.
Yeah, this is the key player here is Sleepless. Usually teams all hold inside the compound, right, which is a death trap. So I love PassionFruit's setup. They know their exposed side is this lower hillside where EFC could get a nice sweeping angle and then push in. So Sleepless is the very key player here. He cannot go down. And if anything, even if he could get a knock, I want him maybe to remain quiet and wait for EFC to actually commit, and then Sleepless can trap them in. He's playing this very quiet, which is exactly what he needs to do here.
I think he sees XTV. Yeah, he must see XTV in this area. Now, Teddy seems to move closer to XTV. They're going for the shots onto Jay, but that could be the bait to actually send Teddy into that higher ground position. He's going to wait to strike. He's going to wait to strike. Come on, come on, come on, Sleepless. Come on, go for it. Go for it. You can do it. You can do it.
I think he's waiting until EFC is more committed. That way he could get, you know, more than just one knock here. And oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah, yeah. So I get it, but sometimes you gotta take your opportunities, and it went against PassionFruit indeed. Nicely done by EFC. Great turnaround. That's gonna give them the man advantage to push in.
Yeah, this is going to be a clean execution out of EFC. At worst, I'm expecting EFC to lose one player to a quick thirst, but even then, I don't think that's going to happen. Another clean knock. Yeah, like I said, EFC has practiced this engagement for this compound so many times over and over again. I'm not surprised to see them do a flawless one right here.
Look at the circle shift on this phase 4 as this engagement is kicking off a little bit more strongly. It is in favor of HQA Team Ace. I think also
Pro Era on the northeast right there.
Who?
Pro Era.
Pro Era.
Pro Era on.
Yes.
Yeah, they're controlling that northeast. It pretty much gives them access to the rest of the map, no matter how it shifts, besides the southeast. So Pro Era, you know, they're looking good to pick up a lot of kill points on this game. But this fight between PassionFruit and EFC still not over yet. EFC, they're gonna buy their time because with this circle sift, this spot is the jumping off point. They want this spot to get the info onto the next rotation.
Eddie gets knocked down out in the open. I think it's a time for Spring to push in. XTV gets knocked down as well, so Goops is left on his own. He's gonna get knocked down to the floor. No mercy! Instantly turning this around for the side of PassionFruit, and EFC are looking at this going, where did it go wrong? We kind of pushed in, but we were a little bit half-baked about it, and now they're baked to the ground. Spring is most likely going to go down. He tries to get in that boogie, but the wheels of that boogie is hurting him. He's going to try and get that first aid off. No, it misses it. And EFC, just like that, go down. You mess with the fruits, you mess with the passion fruit, and you are going to get buried like a fresh fruit.
I love how my pick was EFC and your pick was PassionFruit. Okay, fine. You take this one, Imperium. The key mistake was they pushed in one by one. They got too ahead of themselves. So true. They felt too overconfident with the amount of fights that they have been winning, and just the one by one push. Yeah. At any level of the game, you cannot push one by one.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think they're going to be, like, you know, too harmed by that. I feel like there was a little bit, hey, they knew the risks. They're kind of going for the kills. It's one of those things. They won't be happy about it, but I don't think they'll be super worried about it. As Mezexis is coming in on the northwestern edge by the fields. They do choke out a couple of smokes, but their US is indeed blown up, so they're not going to have any form of movement. As M19 also in the center of this phase. I think that's revenge on it. Yep. He gets taken out. He tried to be inside that tractor or around that tractor, and yeah, he paid the price.
Yeah, Russell with the 8X Mini, they're trying to shoot underneath the cars where the bullet can penetrate just, you know, through that little gap and get that knock. But getting no luck there. Lolo is able to stay alive, but not with PassionFruit on the backside there. PassionFruit might just have an angle, and this is where we see the cars and the smokes come out. This field is playable to a certain degree, but you gotta use them smokes, and when that circle hard shifts once again, that's pretty much when you're like, all right, time for some kills.
Here's what I love about Warning 6 on this 2-2 split is that 2 whole chopsticks, 2 are outside. That's like so good because like I said, chopsticks is all well and good, but when you have your whole squad in there, it's kind of like you have no real disengagement. The next circle does center off quite nicely, and there's so few areas to play around in terms of compound. It's all either high ground, flat, and pretty much in the open.
Yeah, we support farmers, and HQA control the 2 key positions for that southwestern side of the circle. They have full control of it for those 2 teams. And on the eastern side, Ace controls it from a really good spot in their compound.
They
and on
do.
the northeast, Pro Era has a great split defense to control all the sightlines onto that northeast. So all these teams not in zone really have their work cut out for them, no matter where they want to play. And they should look to commit to a full-out team fight if they want to make it into this circle.
If Team Ace, as they are together a lot closer as a full squad, can pick off the members of Pro Era, that can really set them up on the eastern side, because they do have that little bit of low ground dip, while LeveLx are trying to get the shots off onto SegmentX. So the two X-based teams are looking to mark their X in this lobby, and that's beautiful grenades being thrown out by Lolo and King A together. They're the two players left standing for this side of SegmentX, and LeveLx, they sent two players in by the side of that road, a couple of smokes, but those are dispersed. It's going to leave them in a very exposed position when they do.
Yeah, I love this positioning by SegmentX too, not so much because of this circle, but the previous circle, right? We saw a few other teams try and just make it into circle and use cars as cover. If that's your plan and you're going to lose your cars, why not go for a more central position on the previous circle? So you can maybe get the circle on the ship, and it's working out for SegmentX. Dior with the hard push right onto We Support Farmers, and they're going right in.
Oh my lord, it's 1 knock apiece between these two teams. Flawless is down on a little bit of health. The three members of We Support Farmers are up the stairs and they're chucking out the grenades in terms of the mini red zone inside these buildings. The Pain is trying to put the Pain onto the side of Dior. Knockdown comes on through. It's actually third party by the Panthers, who are coming in on the outside of the buildings on the hills up above. I'm a little bit surprised that teammates aren't hearing all this, because they could actually fourth party the Panthers. But what I do love about the Panthers is that they have a couple of players around while the shots are being fired up in amongst the smokes. We Support Farmers are getting the better of Dior. There's one player left standing. The Pain is going to be alive. You hear is the last one up for their side, just shooting up in the smoke, hoping for the best. Dear life, it's a footsteps are just dealing it through, and Dior has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and that is going to be the end of Dior. But We Support Farmers, it's not over yet, because now they have to deal with the Panthers, a three-man team pushing on in. Keep an eye on the kill feed. Ivorian is down, but he's not confirmed. No, make that the Pain. Knocked down, Ivorian confirmed, and one player left to We Support Farmers. But oh my lord, Team Ace, I thought they might hear those shots. A grenade gets thrown all the way down the hill and knocks out the Panthers. That's going to be a confirmation, and We Support Farmers are given an instant time to breathe.
Time to breathe. Imperium, that was 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams fighting back to back for this compound, and I think Ace is going to be the next team down here. They already pumped some shots into the Panther. They know 2 teams are fighting down here, and they are both weak. It's not in zone though, so maybe Ace might look to get in front of them, or might take LeveLx's spot, as they are working down LeveLx, trying to survive next to that tractor. And I think that's the next key position that Ace is going to look at, and they're going to leave alone the south side of the zone.
They're also looking at this going, wait, there's 17 players left. We're 4. That means there's 13 players left. So whatever happens, we do have a little bit more freedom to enter the circle on the edge, and sending Nomi in by that tree with that now blown up vehicle. That is the anchor point for the rest of the team while they do fight up in towards the distance. But now Pro Air are going to look to push in on towards the position where LeveLx are, and it is just one player left up. Beast. No, actually, Ultron is also left alive, and now it's going to be a 2v2 in amongst the smokes. Beast is going to get knocked out. Ultron is prone on through as the smokes are being driven in. That is going to be Pro Air most likely going to get the better of LeveLx. But 1, 2, Unifu! LeveLx, come on into a shoe and get the fight against Pro Era. Oh my god!
Oh my god, indeed. He manages, in that state of confusion and adrenaline, to run over to the other side, back behind cover, so he's going to survive one more circle. We'll have a 4-man of Ace raining Hellfire down onto HQA. HQA's building is not in zone, so all they have is the trees and the cars to use as cover.
Oh my god, Ultron, that was like you know, Avengers Age of Ultron level clutches coming on through for the side of LeveLx. 4 teams left in this game. You have HQA up as a full squad coming into phase 7. This is their time to claim a chicken dinner, but the circle shifts away. I don't know how many usable vehicles they have, but whatever they have, they're going to have to play as heavily to their advantage as they can. They're going to send one player in, most likely. Crosses inside that vehicle. The smoke is going to disperse. They also have, I think, a US to play with as well. But Team Ace, they're not in the circle either.
They're not in the circle, but as the zone closes, they are able to take shots onto HQA, because HQA will be covered in blue first. But HQA using that knock to set up positioning, and they already have the smokes down. Perfect move out of HQA. Ace is, you know, they realize, hey, they're taking the advantage on us right now. We need to start repositioning if we want a chance to fight HQA. And Ace, they get a knock right back, so it's 1 for 1. It is even out, and we still have 2 solo players left in the game.
That's what I'm thinking. Can Legal be the thorn in the side for Team Ace? Can Ultron, off the back of a clutch, also clutch up against HQA from a distance? HQA should know that there's at least one player by those vehicles, by that tractor, because they've been watching in the distance. So should LeveLx. The side of Team Ace. It is Legal that is probably at the most benefit of having a surprise engagement onto either of these teams. Well, look at the whole of LeveLx, all crouched behind one solitary vehicle, whereas HQA have way better of a spread.
Yeah, it was that one knock in the very beginning, and immediately HQA spread out. Ace was thinking, hey, we have this circle closer on our side. We'll just shoot HQA as they move. But that one knock gave HQA the instant opening to spread out and control the whole entire playing field. And I don't see Ace winning this one. Maybe if they could get some knocks onto the snake, just maybe. But yeah, they're all stuck behind one spot, and it is not looking good.
This is where HQA come into their own. Late game is a full squad. They are not afraid to spread out and perform that individual damage. Another knockdown flies on through the underside of the vehicle. They get a second knock, and Team Ace have absolutely nowhere to go. They don't even have an ace up their sleeve at this stage of the game, unless Legal is going to legalize the chance for Ace to come back into this game, and Killer is going to see those smokes. No, that's going to be the push, and HQA are wondering, where the hell is this last player? Legal's going to take the shot. He's going to find a knockdown, but the rest of HQA drive on through, and they get the chicken dinner in Erangel.
Yeah, great job out of HQA. That's what we would like to see. So they got circle blessed. I'm going to say it simply as that. They were sitting at that compound at the beginning of the first rotation, but we see how strong HQA is when they get 4 alive towards the end game. That's where they've been struggling the most, games 1, 2, and 3. They keep losing players on rotation. Okay, they get their work cut out for them. They don't need to rotate. But this just goes to show, if they can fix up their rotations and they could stay alive as a 4-man team, they have the skill and the tactics to fight. Ace had the advantage on them when that circle popped, and it was in Ace's favor, forcing HQA to make a move first. But their gun skill is on point. They get that knock, and not just only the knock, instantly they spread out, take control of the circle, spread out, force Ace to be stuck in one spot, and that's how they claim the chicken dinner on that last game of Erangel.
14 kills for HQA to tie up the final game chicken dinner. Such a solid result, and it was great to see them pull it off as well. The Panthers, second place, 1 player left. They were third partying this fight against We Support Farmers in Dior. They get 6 kills. That is 18 juicy points. And Team Ace, I'd been a little bit disappointed in them, to be fair, over the first 3 games, because I was expecting a bit more from them. They only got 2 kills, but at least a second place, or third place, should I say, with that is going to give them 12 kills. So it is still a better result to end the day for them.
Yeah, speaking about Team Ace, some interesting things to note towards the end of the game, right? They were 4 up, and I was talking about them taking over the tractor position. The position they stopped at, I like it. it wasn't bad, but you can see how when you're a 4-man team, if you don't start sweeping the sides and taking out teams, you can end up putting
Yes.
yourselves in a corner. And that's pretty much what they did. The spot they stopped at before HQA pushed them was not even a bad one, right? But right when that circle shifted, they need to spread out. They need to like maybe clear out a side, so to say. They needed someone on the Panthers
Yes.
side of the playing field to have a more even line of sight and angles onto HQA. But they never cleared the Panther side. They never cleared the Tractor side. So they were forced and stuck behind there, and I think that was where the fatal mistake was.
So true. They even had at one point, as far as I know, they had one player down on the kind of eastern side of that road. And he then joined back up with his team. And it's kind of, well, why didn't you stay there? The circle might not have actually stayed in that direction. But as you correctly pointed out, at least would have given a different angle. It would have given a different sightline. It would have given far more information rather than having all four players behind one vehicle, because there's only so much information you can get from, you know, 4 pairs of eyes. You know what I mean? You know, but you're dead right. You are absolutely dead right. Man, what a way to end the day. And I do think those were overall, all things considered, some of the cleanest circle shifts we had. There was one harsh to the east, but it didn't really go too massively against a lot of these teams, and it stayed centering up on the final couple of circles.
Yeah, that last game of Erangel was it was so normal in terms of plane path and zone shifts that it was also not normal. I feel like, but
That's
for the
true.
teams, those are as easy as the circle shifts and plane path as you can get. So no one should be complaining about the results of that last game. Any bad, you know, plays or placements, wherever you ended on that last game, it more than likely came down to purely team error mistakes, which is good because that's something you can control and fix and improve upon.
That is so true. Let's have a look at the overall standings at the end of this day one, because there's definitely going to be a few surprises. Most notably, HQA have jumped up the first, overtaking Enigma Fan Club. And not only that, but even the Panthers have pushed up into second place. And yeah, okay, there's only 3 points dividing EFC and HQA, but at the end of the day, you can still say they're on top.
Yep. HQA, the amount of kills they have, 26, right? Highest in the lobby for today.
Yes.
Makes sense. It definitely makes sense. HQA has always been a team known for their gun skill and their aggression since they were ever founded. And I've seen this team for at least like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And when we scrim against this team in particular, we know how good their gun skill is. We know how good their team fighting is. And it's quite surprising to me how behind they are in terms of their rotating prowess, right? Their rotations. Yes. I think, though, if they just do a little bit of VOD review, you know, take a little time, study the teams, look at what pathings are good for them, they would all too much like just secure their top 8 finish coming into the finals.
So we're at the end of day one. How many of your 8 teams that you picked are in the top 8?
Okay, let's see. I am missing. I'm missing 2 teams. The Panthers and JCR are not the teams I picked, but they are in the top 8. So 6 out of 8.
I'm missing 3. I'm missing 3. I've got 5 out of 8. So not as bad as I thought it was, to be fair. I thought you were kicking me out of the park, but either way, fantastic way to start off the finals of the PMCO North America region. Let's be fair. There's so much more to come. There's so many more points to play for, and it's only going to get harder and harder from here. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in and joining us for this first day of the finals. And of course, we will see you all tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe and have a good night.
OnePlus 8T. This has the 120 hertz, so it is wicked smooth.
15 minutes will get you charged up for a whole day.
And this has a quad camera too. We got a 48, a 16, a 5, and a 2 megapixel